Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us for a conversation with Rotary International Director-elect Tom Gump and District Governor Don Fiedler. It's wonderful to see so many members of Rotary gathered for this shared experience. Before we begin, there's a few housekeeping notes. This session is designed to be conversational and interactive. To help us, Andy DeWitt from the Rotary Club of Oshkosh on the Water is our Zoom operator this evening. So please use the chat feature to share brief comments or reflections during the conversations. When we will reach a participant's question later in the program, you may place your question in the chat or raise your hand feature. As commented, this session is being recorded and will be shared later on the District 6270 YouTube channel. This evening's conversation is a reflection and forward-looking. It aligns the Rotary Vision Statement, the action plan, priorities of impact, reach, engagement, and ability to adapt. And next year's presidential theme, Create Lasting Hope. That message reminds us, create lasting impact. One of those.
It's a message, not a theme.
Right, it's a presidential message. That message reminds us that lasting change does not begin only in our communities, it begins as in ourselves as leaders. Tom and Don, it's a pleasure to welcome you to tonight. We share a history of collaboration, learning, and service. Together, you bring perspectives shaped by club, district, and international leadership at a time when Rotary is asking us to think differently about impact and engagement and leadership. Tonight, we have the opportunity to explore how Rotary shapes us and how we, in turn, shape Rotary. Let us begin by going back to the start of your Rotary journey. As you reflect, feel free to share first impressions, influential individuals, and moments when Rotary influenced your values, leadership, style, or sense of responsibility. I'm also interested how involvement in e-clubs or cause-based clubs may have broadened your perspective. So, Tom and Don, what was your Rotary membership like before each of you, before your terms as club presidents? In what ways did those Rotary begin to shape your personality?
Ladies first, or do you want me to go?
Why don't you go first, Tom? Because
Okay,
you've been longer than I have.
well, Don, I didn't know you were an attorney. That's a compound, complex question. I almost wrote it down, but you were talking so fast I couldn't get it down. My Rotary journey before I was club president was a little bit unique. I tried to join Rotary about 17 years before I actually joined Rotary. I was an assistant district attorney in Gainesville, Georgia, just north of Atlanta, about 40 minutes. And I was in the JCs, and I aged out of the JCs, and I wanted to join Rotary, but they wouldn't take me because they had these classifications. And since I was assistant district attorney, I was the law enforcement classification. And my boss, she had taken that position as the district attorney. So just think, Rotary could have had me working for free for 17 more years. But since this is a leadership talk, it really did teach me an important lesson, and that means we have to be persistent. And luckily nowadays we're much more flexible. So as I'm bringing someone tomorrow as a potential new member to my club, and she's a recruiter, but luckily we already have a recruiter, but it's allowed now because we changed it. But when I was said I couldn't join Rotary, I eventually moved to Minneapolis, and my next door neighbor, who was right across the street, lives right across the street from me, work out 3 times a week, and he asked me about 12 times to join Rotary. And I kept saying no because I figured if Rotary didn't want me, what do I want Rotary for? But I said yes just because he wore me down. And I went and loved the people, and it's been great ever since. So the lesson I take from my journey is we have to be persistent, because sometimes Rotary might not work for a person now, but later in their career or life, family life, it could work. Thank you for the question.
So I just want to just make one small correction. I'm district governor-elect. Liz is actually our district governor for 6270. So my term doesn't start for another 5 months. But I I accepted a position working for the Boys and Girls Club, and the board told me that my part of my job is to join Rotary. And I said, "Well, what's Rotary?" And so I went to that first meeting and I had no idea. And I was hooked from that very first meeting. I have been doing nonprofit work for 30 some years. And I had no idea there was a whole organization of people that were like-minded. And it was just such an eye-opening, exciting thing for me. And I loved the people in my very first club. That club is no longer, and I actually had to transfer to the Elkhorn Club a year later because of a job change. But it was part of when they offered me the new position. I said, I will take this, but you have to pay for my membership for Rotary, and they did. And that's the way it is. And um, I don't know it. I had never thought of myself in a leadership position or even as a leader in my community until the club president said, "Hey, Dawn, would you consider being a club president?" And I was like, "Who, me? I'm nobody. I'm not good enough for something like that." And they said, "Well, we want you to be in the club, so you'd be the district nominee or the club nominee, and that gives you another year to learn more about it." And so they sent me to the district conference and I was just hooked. I love Rotary. I love everything about Rotary in the service work, the work that we do in our communities as well as around the world. It was just so exciting to me to find people who were like me. And that changed my perspective. And in the end, Rotary completely changed the trajectory of my life.
So, Don, you actually kind of led into what my next question was going to be. So I'm going to throw it back to Tom. How did those early experience begin to change your understanding of Rotary and yourself as a leader, Tom?
Well, it's interesting because when I first joined Rotary, I thought it was like another club, but then it turned out that it wasn't. It's more of a family, and I know that sounds trite because everyone says the Rotary family, but I tell you, some of my first experiences in Rotary was hosting. My family and I hosted Rotary Youth Exchange students, and I remember about our fifth or sixth child in was a wonderful boy who was 16 years of age at the time, and his name was Paco. And he came to live with us, and he was very happy, very smiley, great student, never complained, perfect exchange student. And then about 3 weeks in, I came down to our sunroom one Sunday morning, and he was just sobbing uncontrollably. And I was like, "What's wrong, Paco? Can you tell me what's wrong?" And he couldn't. So I picked up the phone and I called his mom, Anna, and she told me that Paco's father had died. So I
Oh.
was like, "Oh, that's just awful. My wife and I will get on a plane and we'll bring Paco and our son over there." And she said, "No, no, no. He's to stay with you and stay with you for the whole year." And usually in youth exchange, it's usually 3 months with three different families during the academic year. So we flew Anna, Paco's mom, and his younger brother Danny, who was 8 at the time, and yet younger sister Sarah, who was only 6 at the time, over. And then when Anna arrived, she pulled Catherine and I aside and told us that Paco's dad had um, died via suicide, which was really hard to take because as a teenager, all the psychologists tell us and all of you who had teenagers, you know how it is. They're very egocentric from the standpoint they think the world evolves around their actions. So Paco had just left and his father died. So it was a rough time. And because they were Catholic, they couldn't hold a funeral in Spain. So I was pretty new to Rotary, but we held a memorial service at a church, and we had about 350 people there from all the districts around my district. I mean, and most of them didn't even know Paco. And throughout the whole year, there were people who were taking him on trips with him and taking him. He wanted to do three things. He wanted to learn snowboard, box, and play piano. And we had people help with all those. They bring their dogs and things. So it just goes to say that Rotary really is more than a club. It's a family. And so when people ask Dawn and I and Don and all of you leaders on this call, why we do what we do. It's because we get so much out more on Rotary than we put in it. Thank you for the question.
Thank
Oh,
you.
that is so true. That was such a great story. Thank you for sharing that. It actually made me want to tear up. It is
That's why I
family,
never
isn't
tell
it?
that story because it makes me tear up too.
Yeah, it is a
And I don't want to
family.
lose what little credibility I have.
You know, especially during the COVID times when we couldn't get together in person, Rotary made such a difference in all of our lives because we still had that connection and we were still able to connect, even if it was on a screen like it is right now. We
Yeah.
could always rely on our fa Rotary family.
You're right, Dawn. You know, I live
So,
in Minneapolis right now, and we have this craziness going on that I'm sure that you all see on the news. And I've been getting messages for the last couple of days from around the world. And Saturday night, I got one from Gordon. I'm reminded of that by Don's shirt. And he said, just want you to know we're all going to church tomorrow to pray for Minneapolis and its people. So
Yeah.
it's always with us. So we're very fortunate to be in Rotary, blessed.
hmm. So as those early Rotary experiences begin to shape you as leaders, there are often moments where service uh, expands beyond the club and into a broader sense of responsibility. As you respond, consider mentors, challenges, district or international experiences that shaped you and how your understanding of create lasting impact evolved as you responsibilities grew. Many members reach a turning point when service becomes less about outcomes and more about lasting impact. When did that shift happen for each of you?
I'll go first.
Okay.
When did that happen for me? I would say that happened pretty quickly. You know, like I said, I've always worked in the nonprofit industry. And as I was preparing to be president of the Elkhorn Club, I was asked to go to a district conference and I attended a workshop. I shared this on Saturday at our pre-pets training, but I attended this workshop that changed my life. And shortly after, well, I learned about what human trafficking looks like in the state of Wisconsin. And because of that, I started a nonprofit in my part-time, because I worked full-time as well. And I wanted to just bring that awareness into my own county. And that has expanded to my working full-time for my nonprofit now with 3 staff members. And I travel all over the United States now, speaking and training people on social media's role and providing resources for sexting and sextortion. In fact, as I was driving up to our pre-pets Friday night, I stayed in a hotel near it. I was on the phone with a mom who had just before Christmas lost her son, her 15-year-old son, to suicide because he was being sextorted. So the work is necessary. We're changing lives by bringing that awareness and that education into our local communities. But we also train first responders. I'm a guest lecturer for Grand Rounds for several medical colleges, training attendees on what the indicators could look like in their exam rooms. And, you know, impact. I was taken up in the Flight for Life helicopter once. That was really awesome. That was like the highlight of my Rotary career. And that was a part of the training that I provided for the first responders. But I also do law enforcement training and I train corrections officers. I was able to train the corrections officers at the Wisconsin Supermax via Zoom. And that's because of Rotary. Rotary has truly changed the trajectory of my life. I even met my husband because of Rotary, and we've been married 6 years. And that's what brought me to Minnesota, is marrying Peter, and brought me to Minnesota. And that's how I first met Tom, was the year I was there. Of course, it was all via Zoom because it was during COVID. But
Tom?
Well, Don, I hope these questions get easier because we're only 15 minutes in and you almost made everyone cry at least 3 times so far. So hopefully it'll get better. So speaking of trying to all wrap what we've done the first 15 minutes together, I heard you ask about change. I've been thinking ever since International Assembly, Yinka's been telling us we should go around and tell people what personal value that we get out of Rotary, because we always talk about the numbers and all the things that we do, but what do we get out of Rotary? And if we share that with people, um, then they'll probably join. And I think that's good. So I'm thinking about how, wrapping what you asked and what Don said, and Don, thank you for all the work you're doing with ending human trafficking, ending sex trafficking. That is just so important, so important. But when we all were in Zoom, I think Rotary changed me. I think Rotary makes us a better person. I mean, every time I go to a meeting, I feel like I'm a little bit smarter and I'm a little bit better person. But I remember um, when we started our governor year, um, I had a platform which was to grow Rotary membership, and my wife was going to do youth exchange. And then George Floyd got murdered right, 8 miles from our house. And we decided that if Rotary was going to lead in anything, we'd have to lead in diversity, equity, and inclusion. So we brought in a group, the whole district got together. We brought in a group from the Research Triangle, the Equity Innovation Center out of North Carolina. And we did a series of 20 Zooms, and lots of good stuff came out of it. We had book clubs, we had scholarships, we had joint meetings with Brooklyn Rotary clubs. But I remember I was the district governor then, so I had to introduce the speakers or the facilitators. And I remember about the fourth meeting in, they were talking about the history of racism. And I had to turn off my screen because I realized something that 20 years earlier, when I was an assistant district attorney, my first case in front of the Minnesota Supreme Court involved two possessions or of intent to distribute cocaine would get you a life sentence. So there was a man, Freddie Stevens, who was serving a life sentence for this. And I remember sitting on the podium, all the judges were elevated up there and the justices, and I was pounding on the stadium saying there can't be racism because there were two arrests and there were two prosecutions. They had to go to grand jury. Two juries had to convict, two judges had to. And then they came back a few months later, and they decided it was a seven-person court, and they decided 4-3 that the statute that said two possessions with intent or sale of cocaine would get you a life sentence was discriminatory. So my boss said, okay, get the other 49 district attorneys in the state and do a motion to reconsider. They did a motion to reconsider. This has a point to it. It came back in our favor, saying the state was correct in its law. It wasn't discriminatory. And I took this job thinking I was wearing the white hat, doing the good thing. And then 20 years later, when we're talking about this, I realized that I was part of systematic racism, and I didn't even know it. I mean, that was my job to advocate on behalf of the state. But I remember I had to turn off my screen because I started crying, thinking, this is just awful. And it took me 20 years to realize it. But the point of the story is Rotary made me realize that. And I became a better person because of Rotary. If I wasn't in Rotary, that would have never happened. So the value we get out of Rotary is amazing. And I just hope we share that with all our friends, and so we can grow Rotary and have more hands and hearts to do more service. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom, and thank you for sharing that.
Mhm.
Yeah, one of the things that why I wanted to have this conversation is each of us have had an opportunity to work together in some aspect or another, and we know bits and pieces of each other's story, but we don't necessarily know all of our stories. And I think just having this conversation and learning more about the experience that you had, and in some respects mirrors my own journey through figuring out where I am in this in this scheme of things. So, but one of the things that I'd kind of like to lean into a little bit is how is shared experience in working with Rotary colleagues changed or challenged how you approach leadership?
Well, I'm in line to be district governor for 6270, and I don't think I'd be in this position if it wasn't for the past district governors in our district. They've all come alongside and encouraged me for years, even when I was just, my expectation of being the president of my club, and then to go on to be an assistant governor the support and encouragement from the district has been phenomenal. And I'm looking at the faces of Mary Beth and Nancy and Rob and these people who have been a part of my journey through Rotary from the beginning. Heather Brewer, she was one of the first who I came in contact with outside of my own club. And it's just I feel that, oh, Tammy as well, Tammy Coop. I'm looking at all these faces and I'm remembering the words that have been said and even the women of the force, who is just become such an important part of my leadership journey. And Liz has, we talk weekly, at least once a week, text constantly and just email. And she's been a phenomenal support in helping me prepare. So I think utilizing the history and the experience of the people who were there before me, it doesn't mean that we're not going to change and be a better or stronger district moving forward. It's just going to be a little bit different, but it's their history, their experiences will only enhance the work that we do together as a district, as a zone, in whatever district you're in. When I transferred to Tom's district for about a year and a half, it was, I walked into the Rotary meeting and it was her club and she was district governor elect. And she said, "Oh, we need another AG. You should be an AG." And I'm like, "Well, can I move here first?" And it's just encouragement, especially the women within Rotary have been phenomenal. And I'm not putting Rob in a back seat there because he's my Rotary husband, and he is a very important part of my story within Rotary as well. But it's just everybody who you come into contact with Rotary is a part of your story. And it's a matter of we've got to share that, right? We have to share what does our story look like, because I think that's how we're really going to grow our membership. We don't join a club just to bring in more people, but we want to join and be a part of it and share our story. And that's an organic growth within.
So, Don, I love this question. I don't think I've ever been asked a question like this. How has working with others in Rotary changed your leadership style? And I think about it, and I love that in the presidential message that we move to these themes and unite for good, creating lasting impact. But I always go back to the first two words of our vision statement, which is together we. And I think what Rotary has taught me is the we really makes it happen. When I look at the things that we've been able to accomplish, starting a club, bringing people together. When you're district governor, during COVID, our fundraising was going down. So we got together and brought a lot of people together, and we ended up being every club 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club. And that was only the third time in the world that's ever been done. But we did it because we came together. Last year we brought 5 different districts that were in the state of Minnesota together to get legislation passed, to get license plates. We have about 10 districts that we brought together to bring the 2028 Rotary International Convention here. And I'm just thinking of all the things that we've done. It's always the together. So I think what I've learned from Rotary is you get a lot more done when you do it together. And whenever you're starting clubs, it's interesting because there's different skill sets, and sometimes you have to be somewhat of a salesperson in order to get a club kind of started. But sometimes those salespeople think they should do the newsletter and they should do the speaker list and they should do everything. But it's not about that. Even if you are the person who does the best at everything, you got to keep people engaged. So I think that together we is what I learned most about leadership and Rotary, and I appreciate Rotary for teaching me that.
Thank you. So as service expands beyond the club into a broader leadership roles, leaders are often shaped by moments of transition. I invite you to reflect on lessons learned from navigating from shifting formats, cultures, expectations, including assumptions that you had to reconsider or unlearn. How did those experiences inform your leadership approach and collaboration across district and zone lines? So I'm going to first start with you, Tom, because our paths began to cross back in early 2022 during a period of transition for Rotary following the pandemic. How did that environment require you to change as a leader?
You know, it required a lot of changes in a lot of different fronts, and I don't think change is necessarily bad. We're all resistant to change. Nobody likes change, unless maybe a baby in a wet diaper. But besides that, nobody likes change. But what I realized, Rotary's got that unique model where and I think about this every 1st of July, whatever you're doing, you're done with that job and you start a new job. And you know, a lot of people can see that as a weakness. I see that as a strength because what it's teach me, Don, and all of you, is that good leaders have to make sure that there's good people behind them to make sure the job's done well. Don's going to be an awesome district governor. I know that. I'm always impressed when I go to International Assembly um, because I really feel like the best thing we can do for Rotary is we could all bring in people that are better than ourselves. I always thought that the best thing I could do for Rotary is bring in other people who are better than me. And when I look at every year we go to IA and I see all those governors, I know they're going to do a great job, but they only have 1 year. And so while you're busy making your mark in that 1 year, make sure you're grooming other people to take your spot after. You know, it's fun right now because Rotary International is putting out committee assignments, and it's kind of sad when people don't get on a committee. When people do get on a committee, they're all excited. And I can say, whatever committee you get put on, whatever you do as a DG, you know, make sure you groom the next person. I think that's an important part of leadership. So that's what I learned from Rotary.
Thank you. Don, as you listen to Tom's reflection, what parallels or contrasts come to your mind from your own experience?
Well, I have limited experience compared to what Tom has. So I really feel that I should just defer to what he said and say ditto. But I feel that as in a leadership position, it's not about me. It's about us. It's about being together. It's about working as a team and developing leaders within so that we have that future in our district. And so that's really where I'm focusing for my year as DG, which isn't any different from any of the other DGs in the past, right? It's all about working together because I've worked with micromanagers in the past, and there's nothing more stifling in the world than working with someone who is a micromanager. And I am not that person. If you tell me you're going to do something, I expect you to do it. And if you have any questions or problems, let me know. I'll help, but it's on you. You do it. And I really want to encourage more people to take up leadership positions as we move forward so that Harry and Christopher, who are coming in behind me, don't have a hard time finding the positions that they need. Because I'm blind. I'm coming into this thinking I don't know who to ask to do these jobs because I don't know anybody. But so I really want to encourage more leaders to come forward and the fact that our pets is offering an emerging leaders track is so exciting because it's a lot more cost effective for us as a district to send people to that. So I'm very excited about that and
So,
developing
okay. And so one of the things that Tom talked about was needing to start a new club,
that.
and you were involved with that with Tom.
Yes.
You want to expand on what Tom commented there?
Well, he when I was moving to Minnesota, I was trying to decide which club I wanted to join, and I was invited because of the work that I did in human trafficking part-time. I was invited to be a charter member of the Rotary Club to End Human Trafficking. And so I did. And so I transferred my membership to that because I was going to be in Minnesota anyway. And I ended up being on the board while I was there for a year, as well as being their assistant governor. So it was a busy time, even though everything was online. Being a part of the start of that club was very exciting. And it was a lot of fun to be able to do that and to be with like-minded people, being that it was a cause-based club. It was a lot of sometimes it was a little bit complicated because we couldn't meet in person. But other than that, I think it was it's a thriving club now, and it was really wonderful to be a part of that. I ended up moving back to Wisconsin, so I had to leave that club and move back here. My parents were in a bad car accident, and I had to take care of them. So that's why we ended up leaving Minnesota to come back to Wisconsin. But and I just thought, I'm here. I want to go back to Elkhorn, which was my home club to begin with. But I still receive all of their emails. I'm still welcome to their club meetings at any point. And when I was in the AG for Tom, I had 11 e-clubs, which Tom, I'm just going to tell you is a lot. But
Yeah.
I'm still friends with many of the people that I met in those e-clubs. And I was just their AG. So I would just visit their clubs, every other month or so. And it's wonderful to still stay in touch. And they were located from all over the world. They're not just in Minnesota. So that was it was a really amazing experience to see how Rotarians who can be all over the world can still come together for a cause and work together for that end result on whatever that is. And for me, that was that's a big deal because I live in a small town. I'm just a small town girl. And I was very comfortable in my own club. And so it really opened my eyes, opened my world in such a magnificent way. And that's because of Tom, because he put me in charge of 11 clubs.
So, Tom, I'll come back to you because you have the wonderful opportunity to have had attended multiple international assemblies.
Mhm.
So, uh, how has that approached changed your leadership approach or expectations of yourself?
So, before I answer that, can I address a couple of Dawn's questions?
Sure.
And I agree with 99.9% of what Dawn has said, but only the 0.1% I disagree with is um, all the experience that all of you have is enough to do the job that you're going to do. And I tell you, Rotary does not happen on the 18th floor of Evanston. It doesn't really happen in the boardroom. It happens at our clubs. And I'm so excited, Dawn, that you're so excited about pets and you're getting other people excited. Tom Hanger just asked you to send some stuff about the emerging leaders. We have to make sure that our presidents know that next year in Rotary, they're the most important people in Rotary. I mean,
Mhm.
I'm only able to go to 6 pets this year because they're all the same weekend. You could have to pick which ones you can go to. But I'm so excited to go there because I want to tell them that they're so important to Rotary. Obviously every job's important, director, everything's important. But club president is super important. So Don, thank you for doing that. And you're right, e-clubs are super important. But I want you to all know that it's really not hard to start a club. Um, when we first started the club that Don is talking about, we had a little consortium of a few districts, and we were doing seminars on human trafficking. And the organizers came to me and said, "We're quitting Rotary." And I said, "What? Why are you quitting Rotary?" Well, you don't understand. We can't do any grants. And if we do, it's one grant. All we could do is speak to a club once, and we can't do things. So we said, start a club. They said it's hard. We said, no, it's not. And we started it. So Dawn helped us start that club. But then after that, there was a lady in Seattle who saw us on a telethon that Jen Jones was having. And she saw my shirt that said Dinah Morningside. She tracked me down. So she came to our club, the End Human Trafficking Club Minnesota. Then after a year, she started an end sex trafficking club in Seattle. Now there's a
Mhm.
dozen of those all around the world, so we can do all that. International Assembly does change you. Thank you for that question. Um, it's funny. Don was alluding to it. When you go to your first district event, your eyes, the scales in your eyes kind of open up. And you go to your first zone event, your eyes open up. You go to International Assembly, you see all these people in their native garb, and it definitely motivates you. And I was proud that Ben Bauer from Wisconsin was actually the MC for that event. Um,
Yes, it was.
yeah, and that makes me very happy. Um, and he was the MC for our zone event, and this is how it leads up. So all of you who are doing things now, maybe you'll be doing international stuff down the road. Because Yinka, our president-elect, was at our zone, and he said, that Ben guy's good. I said, well, we need to have him on International Assembly. And now he did it. And so you never know where those opportunities are going to go. But Dawn, you're so right. And then one of the answers to your first questions, you said, we're all developing. We're learning to be leaders. We're learning to be better speakers and presenters and facilitators. Well, we learn all that in International Assembly. And I do think that International Assembly is good, Don, because it teaches us about the internationality of Rotary. Because I don't know about you guys, but when I joined my club, they said, this is what a Edina Morningside Rotary Club does. And I go, great. And after my first meeting, the president took me aside. She goes, well, what do you want to do in Rotary? And I said, I want to be in the 4th of July parade. And she goes, well, Rotary doesn't do the 4th of July parade. But she was a city council person. She fixed me up with a person that got to work on the parade. But all these contexts that we have, every platform is just a larger platform to work from, and you can influence more people. But every job we do at the club level, at the district level, the zone level, the region level, international level, it's all important. I got to argue that I think what we do in the club is the most important because that's where we bring in our members, that's where we do our grants, that's where we do everything. So thank you for the question.
Thank
So
you.
Tom is actually speaking at our Midwest Pets. He'll be there Sunday morning. And Ben Bauer is going to be our MC.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah.
Is he going to do a cartwheel?
Oh, we could ask.
Midwest Pets is so wonderful. They have a huge committee and it's always so good. I wish all pets were as good as Midwest Pets.
We are very, very fortunate.
Yes. So, so building on what you've learned through times of transition and collaboration, let's look ahead as you prepare to begin your terms. How has your definition of service changed from your early journey in Rotary, and how is those experiences shaping the way you think about impact, engagement, leadership moving forward?
Is it
You can
Dawn or
go
me?
first.
Well, I think of all the interviews I've ever been on, this has got the most complex questions. So I'll answer it in this way. You know, leadership in some aspects is the same, and leadership in different things it's different in different ways too. But really, when you're asked to do a job, you do the best you can. When I went to my first meeting at my club, they said, you're going to be chair of the Camp Enterprise. That's our RILA. And I was like, well, don't I have to join the club first? So sometimes you get asked to do these things. So appointment letters came out today, and before appointments for next year. So I'm on the Joint Planning Committee for the Strat Plan, Strategic Plan, International Convention Committee for 2028, Board Administration, which is a lot of corporate governance, and Vice Chair of the Board on Council Legislation, helping the Board of Directors with council legislation. So those are my 4 deals. So my leadership now is different from my leadership in the club because I feel a higher obligation to get out to more people and tell them what's going on. Because when I was in the club, they said, do this job. And it was fun because I could do this job. It's always good because you work with others. But now I feel a lot of pressure, to be honest with you, to go to Midwest Pets and to go to Tom Hankert's Pets in Boston in springtime, which it's never warm, Tom, in springtime. I always hear these songs about Boston springtime, but your springtime must come later than March. But I feel like I need to get out, and I appreciate all of you inviting me to your installations. I've been to several in Wisconsin and your district conferences and all that because I feel it gives me an opportunity to tell everyone what's going on in Rotary International. At our recent board of directors meetings last week, there's a cool thing happening in membership that you'll hear about where the board voted and allocated dollars to have 8 meetings worldwide to talk about how we're going to reach our 2030 goal of 2.25 million by 2030. So I feel a little bit more pressure now since I have a larger platform to perform, but the only way I can do that is your kind invitations to allow me to speak on things like this. So that's my way of saying thank you to all of you for letting me be here with you tonight.
So, when I was preparing to be the president of my club, I decided I'm going to talk to all the club presidents, find out what was the best part of their life in their year and what was the worst, and learn from that. And being the president of my club was the most fun. I loved being the president of my club. It was awesome. And then I was an AG. And I have to say, I think being an assistant governor is one of the best jobs in Rotary. It was for 5 years. I loved it. I really did. Even the 11 clubs. I loved being a part of all of that and meeting all these different people. And when I go to Jane's Club in Lake Geneva, I feel like I'm home. I'm just as comfortable in Jane's club as I am in my own club because of the relationships that I built within those clubs as an AG. So it expanded my world greatly by being an assistant governor. So I've been on track now. I've been in training for the last 2 years to be district governor. And again, it's overwhelming. I International Assembly, totally overwhelming. Every day I just wanted to cry. But it wasn't out of sadness, it was out of such joy. It was such an awesome experience to be a part of. And I'm not district governor yet, and I know Liz is on that countdown clock at this point, but I know that she's also had an amazing year, and I'm really excited for that. And then what happens? I've heard that the day after July 1st, the following year is the quietest day in the year because now you're no longer district governor and the emails and the phone calls stop. I don't know that I'm looking forward to that, but who knows? Who knows what that next step will be? But every position I've had within Rotary has been better than the last, and they've all been an amazing experience to be a part of. And just learning what those leadership skills within myself are and create lasting impact being our presidential message this year. Oh my gosh, that just hit me like a ton of bricks because that storytelling part of what I do is exactly what I do within Rotary, and it's exactly what I do within my nonprofit with Join the Movement in telling a story. So it's all so aligned together. It's been a very interesting time since I joined Rotary, and I never knew that this was even out here until, 12 years ago.
May I
So much has
please,
changed.
may I please
Yes.
give Don some, so Don, I want to share some advice to you that Jennifer Jones gave me because Rotary is so wonderful, but I remember the first time I was chosen to be training leader, she called me because it was a grant that her and Nick were working on. And I said, Jen, what do I do to be the best training facilitator I can be? And she said, have fun. And so, I was thinking about that for a while because I have a natural tendency, I guess, not to have fun. I always try to memorize everything. I try to work real hard. I try to do my best. And what I realized, Dawn, is when you have fun, the other people that you are talking to, facilitating, they have fun. And I got to tell you, I was partner facilitator now at IA, and I had the best time. I remember just this last week, I was around a table sitting with all females from India, and they were telling me about Rotary in India. And I got to tell you, Dawn, don't take yourself too seriously. Really have fun because you are right about one thing. It does go quick, but you want to enjoy it. You don't want to be uptight like me. You want to have a good time. And then everyone else will have a good time too. So,
Yes.
and
Yep.
more opportunities are going to come. So there's something called the PDG Fellowship. It's really fun. I'm on the board of directors of it. And what we do is we have 2 weeks ago, we had Yinka as a speaker. I think next week we have Holger as a speaker. He's the incoming trustee chair. So there's all these kind of ways to get involved as a past district governor. And I think, Don, you're involved with that. You're going to be running the Zoom meetings or something.
Yes, I'm be working on the website. So yes, Tom and I get to work together on a board. So that's what I think is really, really cool about Rotary. And I would also echo one of the things that I learned, that it is my term, but it's not about me. It's about the members. It's about service, and you you know, the synchronicity that you have for creating lasting impact is so phenomenal. That brought tears to my eyes.
And what everyone should know is in July or August, depending on the year, in Rotary Magazine, there'll be a list of committees, and you can apply for those committees. Or you can reach out to someone like me, and we could recommend you for one of those committees. And on my way over here, I got a call from Andrea Kraus, and she's in Kansas. And she didn't think she'd get on a committee, but she wanted to be on finance committee, and she got put on the committee. So this committee, you get to go to Rotary International once a year, and you get to meet with these people, and then you make recommendations to the board of directors. So look for that, and do that or have someone nominate you. We have the Pets Alliance, the Multi-District Pets Alliance, that every July you can actually go to headquarters, and John Hugo, who's our CEO, general secretary, and all the major staff people are there, and you can learn how to organize your pets or pals events. So it's a great idea for people like Tom who are organizing his pets in Boston. There's International Assembly we talk about. You don't have to be a district governor. I'm glad Harvey and Christopher are going to get that experience, but you could be a paid observer and just go to the International Assembly and go to the wonderful dinners. You could do that with their council legislation, which is once every 3 years in Chicago. There's so many things to do. So district governor, think of it this way, not as you're done and you're over. Don't think of it as past district governor. Think of it as opening the door to all these things that you can be. You could be a director like me. You can do all kinds of things. And you don't have to be a district governor or a past district governor to be on a committee. The head of the finance committee now is Bobby Barnes in Texas, and she's not been a past district governor. She's not been a governor. So there's all kinds of opportunities, and they'll find you. And don't think this is the end. It's just the beginning.
Okay. I think at this point, I'd like to open it up to participant questions. So please use the chat or raise your hand if you'd like to ask a question. We will take as many questions as time allows, and we may group or summarize questions so that we can continue the dialogue that we've heard this evening.
I just want to point out in the chat, some people were asking, I wrote down the names, were asking about more information about leadership at Pets, Midwest Pets. And Liz answered back was still an outline format, so we'll get more information to those people, but maybe if anybody wants to talk a bit more about that.
I have a flyer for that. I will actually see if I can't share that with you.
Fantastic.
And I actually was sending Kathy Quiet has an email as we're talking here. So I'm going to get that information, and I've got out of the chat. I think those were the three: Chuck Udell, Tom Hankard, and Nancy Almadi. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Chuck, Tom, and Nancy.
I'm sorry?
Chuck, Tom, and Nancy were asking questions about it specifically.
So, I mean, my plan is to get back with them. So I don't want to put more on your plate, Andy, or
I
Chuck
uploaded the flyer into the chat.
Okay. And Chuck's got a question.
Oops. Yep,
You're unmuted.
Okay, I am unmuted. And, Tom and Don, thank you. And Don, thank you so much for doing this. And Tom, I always enjoy listening to you. Your wisdom is amazing. So thank you, sir. And the only thing I disagree with you is that, Midwest Pets sounds pretty awesome, but, there's another pets or two across the country. So don't forget us out in Kansas.
You're absolutely right. And I'm going to Kansas this year. But,
Yay!
What they teach you as a facilitator is that the knowledge in the room. And I know that Deb Glisson is on right now, and she's head of MDP Alliance. And she runs Empire Pets in Syracuse, New York, which is a great pets too. But she can tell you about what MD Pets is. But before you talk, Deb, let me say that Amy Hopkins, who is a staff person in learning and development at Rotary International, is redoing the Pets and Pels curriculum, and that should be done in about a year. But Deb, tell all us about how we can learn about how to make our pets better, because Chuck is right. There's a lot of
Before that, can I just say one other thing? And that is Liz and Dawn, I am, like I indicated in the chat, I am very interested in your emerging leader track, because as I travel around my district, we need it, and we need it bad. When is your Midwest Pets? I don't know if you'd be interested in having somebody sit in on it to observe it, or
It's March 6th through the 8th.
Okay, I got to see where I am. But if I invite myself, would that be okay?
Reservations
So
are open.
you'd have to register.
can
We have
register.
got Yinka and John Hugo both coming Friday night as speakers.
And Tom's coming.
And Tom will be there Sunday morning, and we've got Mike McGovern Saturday night, and Claire Richards is coming, and
Oh, I know Claire. Sure.
yeah, and Richard Kite. So we've got some really awesome speakers
Richard
lined up.
was at our district conference a couple of years ago. He's
He was at
amazing.
ours
Ours as
last year.
well.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to, if I come, I'd be interested in sitting in on the emerging leader because that to me is something I may not get done this year as DG, but it is something that I will be pushing for down the road as a past district governor.
Another thing that we've added to this year's Midwest Pets is on Friday, we're having a panel discussion on our youth leadership programs like youth exchange. So we've got a whole panel, and all of the districts will be together for this special event. And we're going to talk to people who have hosted, people who've sent. We've had exchange students. We're going to talk about Interact and World Affairs Seminar. We're going to bring in all the opportunities that we have within Rotary for our youth and to encourage them as they, because they're our future, right? So I'm really excited about that. So that's going to be on Friday as well.
Well, thank you. Look forward to getting the information.
Chuck, I put the link for the registration in the chat.
Oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate it.
Deb?
Okay, you're putting me on the spot, but that's
Sorry.
okay. I've been involved with our Empire Pets since like 2007. Before I was even really an assistant governor, they asked me to help with facilitation because was a school district administrator, and I guess you know how to do that sort of stuff. But anyways, so I've been involved in, I can say that we were just doing what got done the year before and what got done the year before that and the year before that. And all of a sudden, after I was DG, become, into a leadership capacity with our MD Pets at that time, Empire. And we started to say we should be sending people to Pets Alliance. We should go see what's going on other places around the country. We're in our own little, hut, so to speak, and we need to find out what's going on elsewhere. We need to become part of a bigger thing. And we started taking our team. I was the chair of it of Empire for 3 years, and by that point, we were taking 6 people to Pets Alliance, and that way everybody could go to a different breakout session, and everybody brought back the information, and we did a report to the full group, and we've really grown since then. And in the sense that, I mean, we've got Tom Gump speaking this year, and Marty Hellman, our incoming director. And it just, we came away with a lot of ideas. And it was just like going to, well, not just like going, but it was similar to going to International Assembly and really being able to hear what's going on elsewhere. And it was like, I always call it a shot in the arm. When you go to a facilitation and it's really good and you have things you bring back and you want to try them right away. And so that's where we've been with it. And we're growing. We're growing. We are a regionalized district now, which was a combination of bringing 3 districts together. We don't say merge because we didn't feel like we merged because we were already working with those districts in pets at that time. So we're a bigger district, and we've got more going on with it. And because we did our pets together, we know the people that we were combining with. So I think that's helped us. We're now CNY Rotary, and right in the center of New York State. Well, a lot of New York State, but there we go. But I think that bringing back ideas. I'm not really supposed to be on this meeting, but when I got information about it, I said, I need to come and see what's going on elsewhere and what we can do. And when you say what with Rotary, I mean, combining together like this, that's Rotary to me. I didn't join Rotary because I knew what it was. I joined Rotary because one of the people in the community where I was working was driving me nuts. Come on, come on, come on, you've got to come. So, we had 9/11 and we couldn't do international travel with students anymore. And so I went to see what Rotary was doing as far as their travel goes. And I became educated as to what Rotary was. I was a little tearful because I didn't even know that Rotary deals with polio. And my dad was a polio survivor. So that was very much like coincidence or really strange. But everything that I do, I mean, coming to this meeting tonight is a shot in the arm for me. I take something away every time I'm with Rotarians. And this is my second big meeting today. So it's just it's bringing it all together. And that's why it's so important to me for areas to become part of Pets Alliance, or now our new name is MDP Alliance. We didn't want to be conflicting with should it be Pets or Pels, so it's just MDP Alliance. And we have representation from all over the country at this point. So we
But
share
it's
a
really,
lot.
yeah, it's really fun to learn what other pets are doing. You come up with good ideas. I
Mhm.
remember one last year when I went to your Empire Pets, Deb. You did something that no one else ever did before. And the first night you had kind of like a speed dating thing where the speakers would spend 5 to 10 minutes at each table and go around. The whole rest of the weekend, I felt like I knew everyone because I got a chance to tell them. So when you go to NDP Alliance, you can say, here's a good idea. So you get best practices from all over the world at different pets. So it's
Yeah.
helpful. Can you put information on the next speaker for MDP Alliance? Because Brian King's going to speak next month, and about what's going on in July, so in case they want to come. Or
Pardon?
can you put the
The
website for
speaker.
MDP Alliance?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're responsible for the speaker, so I would have you address that. It's on all of our calendars and we're ready for it because we also decided that MDP Alliance shouldn't be just a 2-day in Chicago and Evanston event. It should go on throughout the year. So we've been doing sessions with the last three chair people, the last people, the chairs of the group. And since Tom is the chair this year, he's setting up those sessions that we have this year.
So we'll get you the website for that because it's worth
Yeah.
There's questions for Tom about what was your first committee that you joined at the international level, and
yeah.
also the process. Some people question have a little more about how you can sign up for those kind of committees.
Sure. So not every committee, the committee's basic job is to take input from all areas, from staff, from volunteers, and come up within their terms of reference. So every member, every committee has a different task. And it was interesting because last year I was aide to the president, so I took the opportunity to monitor all the different committees that I could. And the DEI committee, which is now enhancing participant engagement, they had this terms of reference was not just make recommendations, but be active in your area and go to all the district conferences and be an advocate for that in your local area. So I changed was able to get the board to change membership like that because I think we all need to do that. But my first committee was the membership committee, which I'm chair of it now, and I was very excited. And when you're on a committee, sometimes other opportunities come to you. Like I was the liaison from the membership committee to the strategic plan committee. This is before I was director. So now it's interesting. It all comes full circle because next year I'll be the director liaison to the strat plan committee. So the way you get involved in committee is when there's an opening, and not every committee's got an opening every year. You go to the Rotary magazine, whether you get the electronic copy or the paper copy, and there'll be a list, and all you have to do is apply electronically. They have a Qualitrix form, which is it's kind of like a jot form. You just fill in the answers. But that's how you do it. Look for the Rotary magazine and apply for one of those committees. But it's an international committee, so it's usually balanced per country. But like in the membership committee, we have people from all areas of the world. We have people from Korea. We have people from Thailand. We have people from South America. Of course, we have me as a North American. But it's worth doing.
Tom,
And if you
didn't you
have any
say
questions, yeah.
it's a certain time of year?
July or August magazine.
Time of year was that?
July or August. It
August.
depends on
Okay,
the year.
thank you.
Sometimes it's in July, sometimes it's in August. And you know, they have audit committee, they have a learning committee if you're into like Don is of all the IA and all the curriculum. There's a finance committee. There is a well, there's just a bunch of different committees. So there's an operational review committee that kind of deals with future looking at Rotary and salaries for staff and that kind of thing. All good stuff.
So, one more request before we wrap up, and that was Tom wanted Don to talk a little bit about our World Affairs seminar that we host in our district. So do you want to talk?
I
There's-
can give the Cliff Notes version. I mean, there are experts on this call right now who could share a whole lot more than I can. World Affairs Seminar is an opportunity for youth, high school youth, to come to Wisconsin in the summer for a full week. And they focus on one particular area. So this last year it was on peace. And they choose a different focus, and they have interactive workshops. They have guest speakers. They do. I came in and spoke last year on setting up a nonprofit to the kids on how to do that, and how I developed my nonprofit. So it's a lot of fun. It's a full week. These kids come from all over the world, and they're sponsored by Rotary clubs. I think the Kiwanis and Lions have also sent students to this. It's at a local college here in Waukesha. They stay there. They sleep together. They play together. They work together. They are learning so much. It's a really wonderful opportunity to bring these kids for a whole week from all over the world to work together and to work towards these programs. I don't know what the theme is for this year. Do you, Nancy or Tammy?
I believe it's also in regard to, or at least concerning peace and peace
Yeah.
building.
Is it? Well, it
yeah.
started through Rotary. Rotary started it. It was a
Our
local
district
club.
Rotary started.
Yeah,
it.
our district, the Whitewater Club here, there's UW Whitewater is just 20 minutes up the street from me. And that's where it originated in the early, is it early
70s.
70s? Yeah.
70s, yep.
And so now they've moved it, and it's at Carroll College, which is a little bit closer to the airport too. But it's a
Carroll.
really phenomenal. I've been able to attend. They do a Rotary Partners Day where all the Rotarians within our district or any district can come and spend the day with the youth that are there and follow them. And then the kids, I shouldn't say kids, sorry, I'm old.
Delegates.
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 The delegates, thank you. The delegates, they have to do a presentation on what they have learned during the course of the week. And they are just, they're phenomenal. These youth are, I mean, we listened to some of the presentations, and, it was like, man, that boy delegate needs to run for the president of the United States. I'd vote for him, They are so excited, and they learn so much. It's a really great thing that we offer in our area. And I said it's open to students from all over the world. I think the cost is, our district has offered to, if a club is sending one student, we will help them with half of the cost to send the second student if they sponsor a second student to go to World Affairs Summer. We really want to increase that.
It's right around $1,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did put the link in the chat, and this year's theme is uniting for peace.
There it
So,
is. And last year we installed a peace pole at the very end of World Affairs Seminar. So it was really a wonderful experience to be a part of. I was there for that as well. So
okay. Well, thank you everyone for your thoughtful questions and engagement this evening. And a special thank you to Andy for serving as our Zoom operator tonight. As we transition to our closing reflections, I want to ground us once more in the Rotary Vision Statement, which is together we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. And next year's presidential message, creating lasting impact. Tonight's conversation reminds us that creating lasting impact in our communities begins with personal growth, intentional leadership, and how we invite others into service. Tom and Don, I invite each of you to share one brief reflection on how Rotary has already changed you and how you hope to continue to grow as leaders during your upcoming terms.
I never thought of myself in a position of leadership. I was a mom. That was the most incredible job I've ever had, was being a mom. And here I am being training to be the district governor for my district, and I'm honored that I'm trusted to do that. But I'm honored to be a part of such an amazing group of people, and the people that I've met so far within my district, they inspire me daily, and it inspires me to be a better person on a daily basis and to have fun, because that's the fifth test, right?
Is it fun?
Is it fun? I've had another Rotarian say, did we get away with it? I didn't say that.
I
I'm
can
just
think of some
repeating.
activities where that would have been appropriate.
Tom?
Well, I already told you one way that Rotary changed me. So if it's okay with you, I'd like to say how it changed a member of my family. So my son, Andrew, went to WAS for a number of years and just loved it. In his year, it was modeled after the UN. I guess the UN gave them a case study, and they all had to divide up into different countries, and then he had to present. So after that, it kind of changed him. He started working on political campaigns and things like that. So when he went off to college in Duluth, he created his own major, and you'd like this, Don, it's in storytelling. So it's like interdisciplinary, and he takes GIS maps and he overlays it with different kinds of data to come up with a story that can help either a nonprofit or for-profit. The last one he did was taking internet usage and putting socioeconomic data on top of it, so that he was able to prove that in the poor neighborhoods they can't afford to have internet. But now he's gotten all kinds of internships and scholarships and things like that. But I credit it to WAS, and it was back then it was only $700, but I thought it was the best program. And one year when Gordon was president, he came and spoke at it. Stephanie spoke at it when she was president.
Yes.
And then they asked him, because he grew up during the process, to be a counselor there. So I just want to say what you guys do in your area is amazing, and you make all Rotary better, and we're all going to do the best we can in our area to grow. And if any of you need my help in anything over the next couple of years, that's my job as your director. So just let me know if you need help, and I'll be happy to help you out in any way I can. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom and Don, and thank everyone for joining us this evening. Your presence and engagement is truly about how we create lasting impact together. I encourage each of us to reflect one way on how we can continue to grow in our Rotary journeys. Have a wonderful evening. Thank you for attending.